Good evening, everyone, and thank you all for joining us. My name is Darby Line, and I am the Vice President of ALL Interfaith, and it's my pleasure once again to be your host for this evening, which is the third and final online roundtable in this current series that we call Awakening the Heart. And you know, I started thinking about it, and June really is a time for awakening the heart. It's the traditional month, when you think about it, for weddings, graduations, Father's Day. And also this month, we celebrate Juneteenth, which is another significant awakening of the heart of our nation, Freedom Day, Emancipation Day, when we celebrate the abolition of slavery. And June, we also have the summer solstice, the day of the longest stretch of daylight and the shortest night. So there's so many ways this month to open and awaken our hearts. So thanks for being with us. Tonight, our focus is on breaking down walls, creating community. And it is the last of our 3 dialogue sessions in this current series presented by ALL Interfaith. And for those of you who don't know, ALL Interfaith stands for Jews and Muslims and all people. ALL Interfaith was founded shortly after and actually in response to the events of 9/11. So for 20 years, ALL has lived its mission, which is to connect people through conversation and education to create peace, harmony, and understanding. And we've done this through workshops, roundtable discussions, women's groups, town hall meetings, conferences, and many more things, and all with the emphasis on dialogue. And in this dialogue series, we have looked at crossing bridges, opening doors, and tonight, breaking down walls. We started with bridges, and we're ending with walls, which is actually kind of neat, because I just came across a quote from Angela Davis, who said, "Walls turned sideways are bridges." So as always, we have a wonderful guest speaker who's going to introduce our topic, then we'll break into our small groups for about 30 minutes of discussion. We'll report back together as a larger group. And hopefully in the process of all of that, we're going to turn some walls on their sides and build some bridges, okay? Maybe turn some on their heads or on their ears, whatever. That's what we're about. But first, I would like to briefly introduce our good friend, Reverend Todd Humphrey, who was once again our Zoom host for the evening, as he has been throughout all of our series of interfaith online roundtables this past year. And we are so excited that he's here with us again, because he does an awesome job of doing all that stuff behind the scenes to make our series flow. So thank you for being with us again, Todd. So good to have you here.
It's a joy to be with you again tonight. Thanks.
So now it is my pleasure to introduce to you our guest presenter for the evening, Dr. Jalil Thurber. Dr. Thurber is a scientist, a software entrepreneur, and emergency medicine physician. Originally from Honduras, he completed his medical training at the University of Texas Medical School, and he currently lives with his wife and 2 daughters here in South Florida. As a member of the Baha'i faith, Dr. Thurber works to promote greater understanding of the role of faith in creating more unified, cohesive, and prosperous communities. He hosts monthly gatherings at his home called Firesides to discuss spiritual concepts and solutions to address current day problems. Dr. Thurber loves water sports, and when he's not busy tending to the sick, he can frequently be found delighting in God's oceans. It is now my honor and my privilege to introduce to you Dr. Jalil.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. So happy to see all your radiant faces. Very excited to be here. I think it's quite an honor to be in your presence and to discuss this very crucial and important topic. I hope that tonight, and to my left, I have Lila Thurber, my oldest daughter. She is 10, but she'll tell you she's about to turn 11. And she's just going to help me open up the discussion with a prayer. I'm very excited about this topic of awakening the heart. And I think the topic is very, very key, because it actually, the subject actually describes everything that we should be doing in this dissolution of itself. Awakening the heart helps break down walls, which eventually leads to creating a community. It's almost like a three-step process. So we're going to first, if you guys don't mind, like to set the mood, and we'll start with a prayer. I will share my screen. Lila will read this prayer for us.
O thou, the compassionate God, bestow upon me a heart, which like unto glass may be illumined with the light of thy love, and confer upon me thoughts which may change this world into a rose garden with outpourings of heavenly grace. Thou art the compassionate, the merciful. Thou art the beneficent God. Abdul Baha'i.
Thank you, Lila.
Yes.
I like this prayer because it's basically asking the Creator to illumine your heart and to make it onto glass that can share the light of love. And it's kind of one of the key concepts that we're going to discuss here tonight. I'm hoping that we can cover three things, just like I described. In order to be able to break down walls and create community, we need to awaken people's hearts. And in this day in which the world is facing a lot of difficult challenges, unprecedented problems, is time for people of faith to really step up to a challenge and to help create solutions and present ideas to help solve these difficult challenges. There are tons, millions of people and millions of dollars being poured into creating solutions for a lot of the world's challenges and problems. But at the same time, the people of faith also have a role to play. And our role is basically to present spiritual solutions and awaken human hearts and to help humanity tap into those latent powers that we all have within our heart. So I thought we would describe an example of a transformation. So I wanted to share a story about this person who lived in the early 1900s. His name was Fred Mortensen. Fred, he described himself as a treacherous individual. He loved to fight and steal. He used to, as a teenager, drink alcohol. He said he wanted to be tougher and tougher than anybody else. He broke the law. He was a fugitive. His mom was at despair, didn't know what to do about him. She always hoped that he would change his ways. And it wasn't until one day when he stole something, was running from the police, scaled a 30-foot gate, jumped off, landed into a garden and broke his leg, that an individual by the name of Arba Hall, who showed so much compassion and love and turned out to be his attorney, until he experienced somebody, a stranger, giving him unconditional love, aid, and assistance, that eventually he began a transformation process, and he abandoned all those things and he transformed into a beautiful flower and rendered wonderful service to humanity. And I'm sure we're all familiar with these stories, but the key to the element here is not only being in touch, putting the people or the person in touch with the Word of God, but also being a recipient of the teachings of religion and seeing it in their own lives. And I'm going to share a quote from the Baha'i writings that describes, I'll just read it. It says, "All that is in heaven and earth I have ordained for thee, except the human heart, which I have made the habitation of my beauty and glory." In all the religious texts, we find this concept that the human heart is not just an organ that provides nutrients and oxygen and blood flow to the rest of the body. It is something more than that. It is almost like a mirror. It is the recipient of the light of God. It is the seat and revelation of God. That is where God manifests himself, where we realize God's attributes. But it's our job to be able to cleanse it, to keep it pure, so that we can always reflect that light. Furthermore, there's another quote that I found very uplifting. "The way you open up the hearts of men is as described here. Unlock, O people, the gates of the hearts of men with the keys of the remembrance of him who is the remembrance of God and the source of wisdom amongst you. He hath chosen out of the whole world the hearts of his servants and made them each a seat for the revelation of his glory. Wherefore sanctify them from every defilement, that the things for which they were created may be engraven upon them. This is indeed is a token of God's bountiful favor. I think as people of faith, as many people would say that belief in God is dying out throughout the world. We see people who no longer really believe in religion. I think it's our role to be able to rekindle people's hearts and unlock them through the Word of God and through divine teachings. We have to actively cleanse the human heart through divine education. And as the stories I described earlier, it's not just so much also words, but deeds. We need to live deeds, not just words be our adorning. This is a wonderful time to be engaged and be able to awaken hearts, because you could argue that we could be heading into divine springtime, which is one of the key elements of this series. We're talking about spring, how things are made new. And this could be a very exciting time for spiritual renewal throughout the world. This is an opportunity where the whole world experienced a very difficult time. It's probably very common for people to be searching questions for answers for questions, and religion should be in the forefront to be able to help people create great understanding. I want to read this quote that talks beautifully about this concept of divine springtime. In winter come the storms and the great winds blow, but then will follow spring in all its beauty, adorning hill and plain with perfumed plants and red anemones fair to see. Then will the birds trill out upon the branches their songs of joy and sermonize in lilting tones from the pulpits of the trees. Ere long shall ye bear witness that the lights are streaming forth, the banners of the realm above are waving. The sweet scents of the all-merciful are wafted abroad. The hosts of the kingdom are marching down. The angels of heaven are rushing forward, and the Holy Spirit is breathing upon all those regions. So what is exactly the world of religion and building communities? Does religion have a role in breaking down walls and helping create communities? I would argue that it actually has an integral role. And as I mentioned earlier, although there are tons of well-meaning individuals and there's greater number of organizations and there's hundreds of millions of dollars being poured into solving a lot of these difficult challenges, people of faith have a role to play. Because money alone and resources will not be able to solve all these challenges that we're facing. When it comes to religion, it is certain that the greatest of instrumentalities for achieving the advancement and the glory of man, the supreme agency for the enlightenment and the redemption of the world, is love and fellowship and unity among all the members of the human race. Nothing can be effected in the world, not even conceivably, without unity and agreement. And the perfect means for engendering fellowship and union is true religion. And I wanted to quote this from the Quran: "Hast thou spent all the riches of the earth, thou couldst not have united their hearts, but God hath united them." In its truest sense, true religion promotes the civilization and honor, the prosperity and prestige, the learning and advancement of humanity. And I think we can all agree that, especially when it came to this recent pandemic, where it seemed there was a lot of disunity, there was a lot of people seeking out their best, their only in self-interest, that it hurt the entire organism as a whole. So the supreme need of humanity is cooperation and reciprocity. And the stronger the ties of fellowship and solidarity amongst men, the greater will be the power of constructiveness and accomplishment in all the planes of human activity. So far, we need to be actively engaged in awakening the heart. We need to use the words of God, the Word of God, to be able to enkindle human hearts. We need to be able to demonstrate that not only in word, but in action. We need to be selfless and reflect that light of God. We need to bring people in touch with the Word of God. We need to rekindle their love and interest. This will help to shed any dross or dirt that might be obscuring the light that lives within them. And religion has a role to play, not only that, but in community. And one of the best things that religious organizations can do as a service to the to the world is to be able to rekindle people's love for God, rekindle their learning and knowledge in spiritual themes, and in learning how to manifest attributes. This is going to be my second to last slide. These are just examples of the ways that in the Baha'i community around the world, this is how the Baha'is have been doing this for multiple decades now. And I think this is something that all religious organizations can do in their communities. And of course, we act locally, but we think globally. So what we do in our local communities is something that eventually can reflect a greater impact and change when it's done globally. So we need to, as I mentioned, we need to be able to help humanity to harness this divine power that lives within us to affect change and build a better society and build better communities. We need to rekindle the soul's connection to its creator. And we do this by introducing the concept of prayer, the concept of reading from the holy writings, inviting people to our homes. A lot of these concepts that used to be taught in schools are no longer being taught in schools. The schools are doing the opposite. So we need to be able to have classes for the moral and spiritual education of people, not only for adults, but children and youth. We need to be able to equip children with the moral framework needed to navigate the many ethical choices they will face in life. It's spiritual education that will be able to equip kids and children to be able to navigate all these ethical choices they will face. In the youth, we need to develop a strong sense of purpose. We need to instill in ideals in order so they can support a healthy and prosperous society. We need to be able to help them achieve their full spiritual capacity, not only for their ability to intellectualize and have rational thought, but to also love and to be of better service to society. Religious institutions should do more to help foster friendship and intimacy among different barriers, across different barriers of race and class. That will help eliminate prejudice. That's something that religion should have an active role in. And also, religious institutions should be able to inspire neighbors to think about each other's needs and earnestly search for solutions to shared problems. And I wanted to end with another story of transformation that almost everybody knows. And I wanted to read this quote from Abdul Baha, who's one of the figures of the Baha'i faith. He said, "Let us make a comparison with the days of Christ. He had 11 disciples only, for the 12th was the cause of his crucifixion. The leader of the apostles was Peter, and on the night of the crucifixion, his faith was shaken, and he thrice denied Christ, though afterwards he became firm. All were shaken but Mary Magdalene. She was a veritable lioness. She gathered the others together and said, 'Why do you mourn? Did not the Christ foretell his crucifixion? Arise and be assured. They have killed but the body. The reality can never die, for it is supreme, eternal, the Word of God, the Son of God. Why therefore are ye agitated?' Thus this heroine became the cause of reestablishing the faith of the apostles. My hope is that each one of you may become as Mary Magdalene, for this woman was superior to all the men of her time, and her reality is ever shining from the horizon of Christ. Be pure. To be pure is to be selfless." Thank you everyone for your time. I hope it went fast, but I hope we touched on a few concepts and teachings that we can discuss and elaborate further in our small groups.
Thank you so much. That was a beautiful, beautiful message. And I think everyone on this in this call would agree that it certainly is a major responsibility of religion to provide the guidance that we need to be a community, because we are all one. We're all children of the same great spirit. So thank you so much for those reminders. Wow. So it's now time for us to talk about all these things. We're going to break into our small discussion groups for about 30 minutes. And I just wanted to point out that this is really what Jam and All is all about, bringing people together for meaningful discussions to break down those walls and build those bridges. So what we're going to do in the groups, we will have a facilitator for each group that's going to sort of guide the discussion. And we would like to keep our discussion in keeping with the principles of interfaith dialogue, if we can put that slide up. These are principles that are central to the heart of Jam and All, and in fact, they are the basis of our core values as an organization. They were compiled specifically to help build community and foster understanding in our conversations with each other. So acceptance, agreeing to disagree, using I statements, sensitivity, keeping each other safe, listening and hearing. Those are all so key to the way we need to be in our conversations. So I would point out also that there's a quote by the wonderful Buddhist teacher Thich Nhat Hanh, and this is maybe the most accurate and succinct statement that I've heard about dialogue, and it kind of sums up all of our core principles here. He said, in true dialogue, both sides are willing to change. I think that's a really key thing. So it's something to keep in mind as we move into our dialogue groups. So as we share, we have two questions that we're going to be focusing on. The first is, what really stood out for you? What impacted you the most about Dr. Thurber's comments? And the second is, what steps will you do personally to knock down the walls that you have to build community within your own faith? What will you do to uphold what your faith teaches about community and oneness and love and opening the heart? So if each group would select a reporter who will report back the one significant learning or aha moment, and those of you who've been with us before know that that's not always the easiest thing to do, but we want one key nugget that we're going to bring back to the group. And you'll get a 5-minute warning on the screen, so everybody just sort of keep aware of that. When that comes on, it would be a good time to sort of close down your discussion and really focus on what it is you want to share with the rest of the group. So Reverend Todd generally explains this better than I do, so I'm going to call him back in to do the rest of the detail stuff of how this all works.
Thank you, Reverend Darby. Okay, my friends, I am getting ready to send you an invitation to go into a breakout room. You'll just need to accept that. I want you to know that these rooms have been divinely ordained. The magic of the internet, the divine mind, whatever you want to call it, the universe has put you into these groups, knowing that there is something within you that needs to be said and someone in that group needs to hear it. And perhaps someone else has some gift that they're going to speak into the space, and it's your responsibility to receive it. So we want to invite you to accept the invitation, go into these rooms, and really dive into this conversation. Thanks for being here. Give me just a moment. I'm going to get these rooms opened up. And we're actually doing really great on time tonight. So I'm going to give you 35 minutes to spend in your breakout rooms and share some really great ideas. Make sure, again, as Reverend Darby asked you, that you pick out one person who is going to be your reporter, and you're going to pick out one nugget to come back and share with the whole group. So here we go. Just accept the invitation that you're going to see on your screen. Let's go ahead and get started. Welcome back. I hope everyone had an incredible and wonderful conversation in your small group. Before we start, Reverend Darby, did you want to say anything, or should we just dive in?
Jump right in.
Okay, perfect. Ramona, if I can get you to unmute yourself, I think you're going to be our reporter for group one.
Yeah, I was afraid I might have to go first. Okay, time to start, right?
Time to start to share your one nugget with us.
Right. Well, we talked about the importance of community and commonality, and we were so impressed with the way the Reverend and his daughter presented the fact that they show compassion to the children and involving the children, not just pushing them where they're observing only. We would like to see us use our differences in a positive way to enrich one another and be proud of our differences. The heart is something that must always be open to receive and build the community. Community is what it's all about. We
Excellent.
talked. Is my time up?
What, we just wanted one thing from you. If you want to keep going.
Oh, yeah, I could keep going.
Well, let's see. Let some other people share right now, and then we will come back if we've got some more time. Okay. Cindy, can I get you to unmute yourself and share from your group?
Yeah, I'm the recorder for group 2. We had Arlene, Ram, Standalin, Georgianne, and Edith in our group, and we had a wonderful discussion. And our nugget was this, that really listening is the key to developing a sense of humility, selflessness, kindness, and authentic love for all people.
Wonderful, beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that, Cindy. And Reverend Gail, can I get you to unmute yourself and share from your group? Hi.
Hi there. Yes. So we did talk about how we have experienced so many different fragments of based on very specific detailed beliefs, but when you come away and connect heart to heart, that you can get to the level of a more universal belief and a higher divine source, so that we can break through and have those heart to heart conversations, and really beginning with individual conversations. I know one of our team members talked about having a tea every week to talk with people, going to different houses of worship, inviting people out from those houses of worship for coffee, and in a larger community setting about a courageous conversation group that was started that talks about for 4 weeks religious and racial bias, and went from 6 churches the first year to the 4th year having 67 churches participate and 300 people even on Zoom. So it's really about building those individual connections and opening the heart and mind to having really good conversations about religion and spirit.
Excellent. Thank you so much for sharing. Sylvia, can I get you to unmute and share? Here you go.
All right. Well, in our group, we all...
You suddenly went silent. I think your headphones came unplugged, maybe.
Can you hear me?
We can. Thank you.
Okay. Our group wholeheartedly zeroed in on youth and working with youth. Ken said we would need to soften a lot of hearts in order to tear down walls. So what better way than to work with kids who are the cleanest slate? They naturally have an open heart. So it would be about teaching them how not to build walls and how to build community instead. So bringing children together from different faiths to learn about each other and learn about each other's experiences. A critical skill for the future in a global community is teaching them the skills to communicate and hear the stories of people who have had different life experiences from their own and understand where they're coming from. So we talked about inviting people over to gather around a faith-based ritual like Passover Seder or like Juneteenth, where you can share stories. And storytelling seems like a really key tool in addition to bringing humanity together through stories. We could zero in on victory stories. So everybody has struggles. And if we could share our victory stories, even in a recorded online way, which kids are now have the skills to do because of COVID, stories bring connection, understanding, empathy, and the ability to experience another's experiences.
What great takeaways from your group. I love that. Children and storytelling. Awesome. Fran, can I get you to unmute and share from your group?
Well, I loved what Sylvia said, because we also focused in on youth being where to start. Start with the youth because they are more open than grown-ups, and do it with activities. And we did not go into his activities the way Sylvia did, but man, I could take that list down. That was beautiful. And do get kids and adults together in activities and set an example on how to interact with people that are different from yourselves. But I love your storytelling and your, getting together for different rituals.
Excellent. Thank you, Fran, for sharing from your group. Now I want to invite Dora. Dora, can you unmute yourself and share from your group?
Sure. Hi.
Hi.
Happy to. What a wonderful night. Well, we didn't get into the nitty-gritty of doing things in the group, but I was really delighted to hear everyone, really, for the most part, spoke about how important the heart is, no matter what religion we're in, to be kind and to see that heart and feel the love, because that is the place. And that's a big part of what Dr. Jalil mentioned too, in one of the quotes as well, or many of the quotes, that the heart is the seat of the spirit. And that is the key, for the most part, to opening. Well, the heart is there, it has to be there from this, the spirit to be placed in there. And that's the place that's way beyond any ourselves, our selfish selves. And that really, for the most part, was everybody spoke about that. The transformation story, which was so moving too, is that it only takes one person that moves, could move a mountain really, but it takes that one open-hearted, beautiful, giving, precious, loving being to put that forth. And oh, it's contagious. It really is. We didn't have really things to say, but I just want to say in the Baha'i faith, we have a beautiful children's program all over the place. That is so, and I for one, started a children's theater in New York based on the Baha'i values. And oh, it's called the Children's Theater Company. And if anyone wants to look that up, you'll be very, very moved. So I agree with all you people who speak about children. They are truly such open beings and wonderful to be with. And yes, also in the group, we wanted to make a better place for our children and our grandchildren. So it's about the heart. Yes, love.
Thank you so much, Dora.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you so much. I love your passion. Thank you. Now, Alice, can I get you to unmute and share? Hi.
Hi, yes. We spoke from what we could do as individuals in humbling ourselves and being present to listen, to actually listen, so that we can truly accept people as they are, where they are, trying to see another person's perspective and understanding that we're trying to find common ground, no matter how vastly different someone may be from ourselves. And the way to do that is through our heart, knowing that we don't have to do it by ourselves, that we can call on that divine spirit, that divine source, to help us to be that channel to give, receive, and remember love, that we're not in this alone. We have the divinity, and that is leading back to what Dr. Thurber said about the fact that we are here to connect people to the divine source, to who they truly are, their true selves. So that's what is the nugget from our group.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Alice. We are so grateful. So let's see. I think that I have one more group left to go, and all the chats slid by me so quickly. Irma, who is speaking for your group? Who's your reporter?
Oh, I put it in chat. It was Opal.
Opal, wonderful. Opal, can I get you to unmute yourself and share?
Yes.
Thanks.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. So we were group 6, representing the magical month of June. We were moved by the idea from Dr. Jalil that religions they have a role in the transformation of the society, and we thought that if those teachings get landed in our hearts or wait in our hearts, then that is where, as individuals, we will come in and we can act on those changes. And because we also made a pledge that we will use these teachings as our guide to strengthen us as we create the intention to meet with, approach, speak with our others, those individuals that because of fear of the unknown, not understanding, that we will go to these people, these individuals, and have a talk. So that was our pledge in our group, that we will do this, because while we understand that the religions, they do have the role, we also believe that it is as individuals where the change will come. And so we align ourselves with group 2 in that thinking. And we thank Dr. Jalil for sharing this information.
What wonderful, wonderful insights from you, Opal. Thank you so much. Got some great information for you, Reverend Darby. You there? Unmute.
Unmute, I'm sorry.
No.
I'm like, oh, overwhelmed. It was just amazing.
Wasn't that great?
So Todd, I have a mission for you. You need to figure out how the next time we do one of these, I can be in every one of the groups. It's just so amazing, the things that came out of these groups. And I've said this for the last 2 sessions, like, this is the best one yet, and this one is the best one yet. So thank you all for your really rich, deep work. It was wow. Lots of amazing takeaways. Thank you so much.
I hope everybody comes back next month so they get to see Reverend Darby as she bilocates in like 9 different places at one time. It's going to be incredible.
Yeah. All right. He's taken the mission on. Thank you. All right. So it's my pleasure now to invite our wonderful speaker back into the spotlight, Dr. Thurber. What do you think about all these great takeaways?
This was amazing, so inspiring. Thank you so much, guys, for sharing your insights. It was wonderful. I took notes. I took notes of what everybody said. Particularly want to make a call out to Opal. I really appreciated what she said. And basically summarize what you guys shared back with us. I'd like all these points that you guys put together, and including that we do have a role as people of faith and people who share the love of God. We do have a role in society, and we need to kindle people back to the real purpose for their being on this earth, and we need to help them and arm them with the tools to cleanse their heart, so it could be a purified mirror to reflect the light of God. And once we do, if we do a good job at that and get people to rekindle themselves with this spirit, then I think it'll be easier to break down these walls and create a community. And as everyone pointed out, this is something we can't leave any demographic or section of society out, but particularly focus with children and youth, because they're the ones, as everyone's described, they're open and they are in a position to affect greater change. They're more amenable to hearing these new concepts and ideas. But thank you so much, guys. It was very beautiful hearing all your thoughts. And I think being here with you guys in this group, it does give me more hope that society and the world can become a better place a more just, loving, and equitable place for everyone. Thank you so much, guys.
Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Thurber. It was just wonderful having you here. And please let your beautiful daughter, Lila, know how many of us, at least in our group, we were really touched by her reading the prayer. So you're doing a good job.
Thank you.
So for everyone, thank you again for being here. And I'd like to remind you that if this evening and the other evenings that we've put on has meant something to you, if it's given you a glimpse of the kind of world that you want to live in, please join us. Become a member of Jam and All. It's only $20. You can do that easily by going to our website, which I'm sure is in the chat, jamandallinterfaith.net. And by joining, you'll know that you're part of what we're trying to do, this world that we're trying to create, where people are treated fairly, equitably, differences are understood and embraced, and where all spiritual paths and faith traditions coexist harmoniously, which is our mission and vision. So you'll find lots of information on the website, jamandallinterfaith.net. We're going to be signing off for the summer, but don't go away. As they used to say, don't touch that dial. We're going to be busy working on some really wonderful presentations and events for the fall, because we're moving into now our celebration of 20 years of Jam and All Interfaith. We're going to have 2 video presentations, one in September that is the origins of Jam and All in response to 9/11, and we're titling it Rising from Ashes. And in October, the second part of that presentation is going to be how we explore what Jam and All and the interfaith movement has been doing in the last 20 years. I think you'll find them both really, really wonderful and moving presentations. November, we're going to have a gratitude celebration. And in December, we're just going to pull out all the stops. We're going to have a blowout 20th anniversary party, and hopefully in person. So if you're not on our mailing list, please do subscribe. You can do that on our website as well, because you don't want to miss out on any of these great events. So we will say so long for now, and we will wish you a wonderful summer. We will miss seeing your shining faces and hearing all these wonderful, heartfelt sharings that you've been giving us for the last year of these online Interfaith Roundtables. But as Charles Dickens put it, the pain of parting is nothing to the joy of meeting again. So we look forward to seeing you again in the fall. Thank you again, Dr. Thurber, for being with us. Thanks to all of you for participating, to our facilitators and reporters and everybody, Reverend Todd. Thanks to you all, blessings to you all, and good night.